The Electoral Commission has declared that it will end the limited voter registration exercise without the option of an extension, regardless that many people in Boku have not been able to go through the process, regardless that the queues continue, and it looks obvious that many will be denied the opportunity to register to be able to vote. First, in the district assembly elections, the EC claims that Parliament must help it to be able to bring its new CI so it can do continuous registration after this process. We'll fact check the EC if without what it is seeking, it cannot do what it must. I believe with unwavering conviction that I am the only leader who, with unmatched integrity, can guarantee the economic and industrial transformation of Ghana, the restoration of confidence in political leadership, and unification of an increasingly divided nation. And Kojo Trematin making a declaration, breaking away from the NPP, and to contest the 2024 elections as an independent candidate on the movement for change. Will he succeed? The country's debt is currently unsustainable. The whole world knows that. We have inflation that we are unable to check. It's the reason 5 cedi ball of kenke is not enough sometimes for a child. Ghana aims to restore its debts to a moderate risk of debt distress by 2028. It intends to bring its public debt to GDP ratio from 88.1% at the end of 2022 to 55% by 2028. The International Monetary Fund has said in its debt sustainability analysis. Ghana is targeting some 10.5 billion of external debt service relief from 2023 to 2026. This translates to a potential haircut of 35 to 40% for creditors, and this signals the magnitude of the challenge faced by investors in the impending debt overhaul. We will check how far we have come after the domestic debt exchange program, how far we have come after we got 600 million from the IMF and getting ready to receive another tranche. Will the economy see restoration or survival as the government seeks in the nearest future? I'm Samson Ladianyanini. This is News File. We'll be right back to deal with the vexed matters.
Oh, Charlie, close the window small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire where you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem.
Oh.
In the sun problem. Common light bulb stuff.
This no matter. I beg go Robert and Sons. Oh, yeah. Then my chick to him, I know correct. Cry. Where Robert and Sons sort them out sharp. Now, so stylish frames in the wrong.
We go Robert and Sons right in. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabaka, Adenta, Kumasi, Osudangwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
My way insurance, my way,
Hi, my name is Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policy holder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya My Way. No way.
My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
The Ministry of Education, through the National Teaching Council, presents the Ghana Teacher Prize 2023 on the theme, The Teachers We Need for the Education We Want, the global imperative to reverse the teacher shortage. Guest of honor, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The most outstanding teacher will be awarded with a 3-bedroom apartment. First runner-up goes with a 4x4 pickup. Second runner-up gets a saloon car. The best teacher in leadership and administration gets a saloon car. The best College of Education tutor gets a 4x4 pickup. Other categories to be awarded include the best preschool teacher, the best primary school teacher, the best junior high school teacher, the best senior high TVET school teacher, the best non-teaching staff. Activities include a 2-day symposium on the 3rd and 4th of October 2023 at Akroma Plaza Hotel, Takoradi at 9 a.m. and a Grand Durbar on Thursday, 5th October 2023 at exactly 9 a.m. at Ghana Secondary Technical School, GSTS Auditorium, Takoradi. Sponsors: Get Fund, GES Occupational Pension Scheme, Glyco Pension, Prudential Bank Limited, SIC Life, Data Bank Limited, Investcorp, Petra Trust, T-Tel, UNESCO, UNICEF, Global Institute of Resource Development Limited, GCB Bank, Ghana Chamber of Mines, IC Giving, Sabre Education, Lower Pra Rural Bank, Benso Oil Palm Plantation, NAT, NAGRAT, CCT, TEU, Media Partner, Multimedia Group Limited. Ghana Teacher Prize 2023, My Teacher, My Future.
The 2023 district level elections will be held on the 19th of December 2023 from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. When you vote assembly and unit committee members into office, you give them the authority to plan, budget, and implement decisions on your behalf because district assemblies and unit committees are responsible for the development of the areas within their jurisdiction. The assembly determines how much to spend on essential services and infrastructure, for example, healthcare facilities, schools, sanitation services, public transportation, the supply of clean water, local economic development, and security measures within the locality. There is no discrimination against eligible candidates and voters. We must endeavor to vote for the right candidate, irrespective of gender, ethnicity, or disability. A vote for the right candidate is a vote for development. All Ghanaian citizens of 18 years and above with valid voter ID cards should turn out in their numbers to vote for their preferred candidate. Political parties are not allowed in district level elections. Do not sell your vote to any political party undercover. Remember, district level elections happens once every 4 years. The time is now. Your vote is your power. Get involved. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Information with support from the Governance for Inclusive Development Program implemented by GIZ and commissioned by the German Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development.
While the Ghana AIDS Commission is working hard to overturn the situation, the Commission urgently needs funding support from corporate Ghana and individuals to save lives. We're therefore appealing to you, corporate entities and individuals, to support the National HIV and AIDS Fund by dialing *9898# on MTN and Vodafone and follow the prompts, or pay into the National HIV and AIDS Fund account number 101 0863-161-3233 Bank of Ghana. Your donation will be used to prevent new infections and provide care for people living with HIV, including children affected by AIDS. For further information, please call Ghana AIDS Commission on 0302 919260 or email info@ghanaids.gov.gh. Give to save a life today. Ghana AIDS Commission, partnering to eliminate HIV and AIDS.
You're welcome back. Here's Samson's take. And to demonstrations and the OSP, it looks like that's what we are seeking. At least some people in the Republic are seeking end to demonstrations and the OSP. So from the very moment the police announced they had filed an application seeking to prohibit the demonstration, that is the Occupy Jilobi House, I was vexed into writing to criticize the conduct and granted some interviews, media interviews, to advocate and educate those who care to listen. I wrote 3 articles stressing 3 very important points: the bad faith and abuse of discretion by the police. When people bring you a notice for demonstration, by the old law, people needed a permit. There's a reason we changed it. After the NPP was unhappy about certain development and sued the IGP, and the Supreme Court gave a judgment in 1993, and then in 1994, we decided we must effect some changes to the law. So we remove seeking permission to just giving a notice. Because by Article 21, that right to demonstrate is a fundamental human right. It's one's inalienable right, birthright. It's not given by the state, not given by a government, not given by a president or an MP. That's why in the Constitution, it is only guaranteed and not provided. Now, if people serve you the notice, police, almost a month before the demonstration, it is such bad faith and it looks so bad on you that you wait a day before the demonstration to go to a court seeking to prohibit them. The Constitution fetters how you exercise discretion. It must be candid, it must be care, it must be without caprice, it should be without resentment. And you don't do what you did. It was so bad. don't treat the citizens this way anymore. If they serve you a notice and you disagree, and the notice is served in good time enough, arranged in good time enough, this thing about waiting until a day before the demonstration to go to the court is very, very bad faith, and it looks so terrible on you. So I was excited to see Occupy Ghana issue a statement, condemn the police's conduct, to see the UTAG Legon issue a statement condemning the police's conduct as well. And I was even excited when SHRAJ, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, also issued a statement condemning the police and directing them as to the right thing to do, not to stifle people's expression of their rights. Now, these protests are necessary to remind public office holders and institutions about their duties and obligations to their citizens, from whom ultimate power spring, and in whose name and for whose welfare executive power is to be exercised. These are constitutionally sanctioned means to remind, for example, an intransigent electoral commission that will not listen to anybody, that its job is to facilitate and not to frustrate the right to register and to vote. In our present predicament, these demonstrations are necessary to tell the Elizabeth Ohenes and Ken Koranches to act rationally and in keeping with their views while in opposition on the need for a ruthless fight against corruption. Check the lame excuse Ms. Ohene makes for Cecilia Dapa, whom she calls her friend, as she joins the NPP to attack the Office of Special Prosecutor for simply doing their work. And Ken takes the choreographed attack further by shamelessly filing a suit in the Supreme Court asking for the court to collapse the OSP. Why are you uncomfortable with what you champion to win votes from Ghanaians who desperately wanted effective prosecution of people that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo called thieves who bled us dry through corruption, and which he was going to stop? Occupy Ghana examined the Auditor General's report 2016 to 2020, only 5 years period, and discovered that more than twice what we are seeking from IMF, more than twice, is what has been stolen from us as found by the Auditor General for 5 years. And remember, if you forget, that this country is unable to account for $3 billion a year through corruption. We need only $3 billion to keep this economy alive. If you can't see the corruption around you and your friends, I ask you to open your eyes wide, rather than blindly supporting them and whipping party people to attack institutions that are simply doing their job. Your friends who were around you just yesterday, who had nothing to their name, who today are swimming in wealth, ask them, where did they get the money from? Those of you we knew whose businesses didn't amount to much, and now your business is the go-to for almost everything that concerns the state. Examine your heart and stop fighting the corruption fighter. That is my take. We'll take a quick break return to look at 3 very important issues that we are canvassing for you today. We'll be right back.
Close the window small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire where you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem. In the sun problem. Common light bulb stuff.
This no matter. I beg go Robert and Sons. Oh yeah, then my chip to him, I know correct. Where Robert and Sons sort them out sharp. Now so stylish frames in the wrong.
We go Robert and Sons right in. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabraka, Adenta, Kumasi, Usudankwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
My way insurance, about send my way,
My name is Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policyholder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya My Way. No way.
My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
The Ministry of Education, through the National Teaching Council, presents the Ghana Teacher Prize 2023 on the theme, The Teachers We Need for the Education We Want, the global imperative to reverse the teacher shortage. Guest of honor, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The most outstanding teacher will be awarded with a 3-bedroom apartment. First runner-up goes with a 4x4 pickup. Second runner-up gets a saloon car. The best teacher in leadership and administration gets a saloon car. The best College of Education tutor gets a 4x4 pickup. Other categories to be awarded include the best preschool teacher, the best primary school teacher, the best junior high school teacher, the best senior high TVET school teacher, the best non-teaching staff. Activities include a 2-day symposium on the 3rd and 4th of October 2023 at Akroma Plaza Hotel, Takrade at 9 a.m. and a Grand Durbar on Thursday, 5th October 2023 at exactly 9 a.m. at Ghana Secondary Technical School, GSTS Auditorium, Takrade. Sponsors: Get Fund, GES Occupational Pension Scheme, Glyco Pension, Prudential Bank Limited, SIC Life, Data Bank Limited, Investcorp, Petra Trust, T-Tel, UNESCO, UNICEF, Global Institute of Resource Development Limited, GCB Bank, Ghana Chamber of Mines, IC Giving, Sabre Education, Lower Pra Rural Bank, Benso Oil Palm Plantation, NAT, NAGRAT, CCT, TEU, Media Partner, Multimedia Group Limited. Ghana Teacher Prize 2023, My Teacher, My Future.
Would you like to try number 11?
What? Number 10 liver salt, refreshing relief, fast. Manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advert is FDA approved.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint. As compared to other paint brands on the market, we take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo Superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
This is a groundbreaking collaboration that has changed the game for Ghanaians. DVLA has partnered with Ghana Post to bring unprecedented convenience and accessibility to our valued customers. Under this agreement, your driver's license will be delivered to you anywhere in Ghana upon your request. Our aim is to provide our customers with seamless customer-friendly services, and this collaboration has brought us a step closer to achieving that. So, take advantage of this partnership and get your driver's license delivered to you wherever you are. DVLA, your safety, our concern. This advert is brought to you by DVLA and Ghana Post.
Daddy, this tank is big.
Yes, that's true.
It can store a lot of water.
That's so true.
Wow, it has a working tortoise on it.
That's so true.
I can see S-I-N-T-E-X. Syntax.
That is so true, my daughter.
When it falls down, it will spoil.
That's not true.
But why?
Yay! Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. Syntex again was the first to introduce white inner layers in Ghana. Syntex gives you the biggest warranty, 7 years. No matter your water needs, Syntex is the answer. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile we put Ghana first. My guest, Dr. Theo Champong, economist and political risk analyst, is joining us via Zoom. Also, Duke Aaron Sasu, lead strategist, Movement for Change. You know that movement by now. Also joins us via Zoom. But here in the studio, people you haven't seen on the set in a long while. Some of your favorite people. Haruna Idrisu is MP, Tamale South, and former minority leader. Good morning. Thank you for making time to join us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We have chased you for many times, and it's been unsuccessful.
I'm here today.
And Nana Kumia, thank you so very much. Nana Kumia is member of the New Patriotic Party's communications group. And also he speaks for the vice president, who is one of the contenders for the flag bearership as well. Thank you for making the time to join us.
It's my pleasure, great. Samson.
Often many people say, where is Akomia? Bring him. We want people who communicate like him. You know, and not to flatter you because you are here. The way you communicate, it brings a lot of, even though you have done it for many years, anytime you do, it's so refreshing. The unnecessary fights and insults, rather than focusing on the issues, is what we always want. So thank you for making the time to
Well, it's my pleasure. I hope Haruna Idrisu takes notice of your observation.
Oh, I think it's in the same league. Right. Now, so as you know, we begin, is it Monday? Then the Electoral Commission's limited registration exercise will come to a close. It says it will not extend it, even though initially it appeared to have given, some idea because of the, as it were, overwhelming calls from all fronts asking that it expands the registration centers. But now it says it will not happen. And this is despite the fact that there are still many people in the queue, not their fault. They go there, they are unable to register. They return the next day, they are unable to do so because they come from faraway distances. There are some who have to travel 80 kilometers. We are told some are doing as much as 100 kilometers. And they have to carry along 3 guarantors, pay for their transport and all of that. In Boku, where there is some situation, the EC has not been able to get, we're told, not even a closer quarter of the people registered because it's operating a very much more limited sort of process there, and it says it will not extend the process in the face of all of this. Let's hear from our guest and what they think about all of this. Dr. Theo Champong, you have been following, and we want to know what you think about what the EC is saying, very briefly.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay. You know, we were here a few weeks ago to discuss this issue, and I raised the point that it has to go down to the people, to the grassroots, and the way and manner that the ET was conducting its exercise would end up this, enfranchising or not getting as many people as they want to actually register. Be that as it may, it's gone ahead with this exercise, and it will become very clear at the end of the day when they compile their numbers that even the 1.something million potential voters that they were looking to add onto the road, they are not going to reach that number. So it then calls into question the purpose of doing this exercise in the first place. And then secondly, when you look at it, even in terms of value for money and things like that, again, there are question marks around that. I would have wished that they would give a couple of days extension to allow people that want to register to register. But if they go on this trajectory, it is going to be very clear that the numbers that they're looking to get for this current exercise would not be met.
The EC has made it clear that its intention is not to capture everybody at this time, and that there will be another opportunity next year. So why should we be so fixated in wanting to have everybody who must register this window?
But people are registering this year because they want to possibly vote in the upcoming district level elections.
That's right.
Right? And then you've got the national election next year. The two are different events. So I struggle to accept the view being compounded by the EC and others that, oh, well, you have another opportunity, so wait till next year and then you can register for the national election. So what, in essence, they are saying or telling Ghanaians is that the national elections is even more important than the district level election. And in the process of doing this, you actually end up disenfranchising. You're not getting people that should be on the road to vote at the district level elections. And that, I think, is not a good thing to be doing.
But they say what is the fact, that district level elections are not, you don't have too many people participating in them. Is it because this time it coincides with the registration before it that we are trying to make, all of this noise?
People don't turn up or register as much, but that does not mean that you should use administrative processes, protocols, etc., to try and prevent them from, one, registering, and then number two, exercising that democratic right that has been given to them. That is the fundamental point. So as to whether people will turn up or not, that is not the issue. The issue is that you need to give them an avenue and a fair chance for them to register. And to the extent that people are queuing, they come in 2 days, 3 days, they're not able to register, and you have an intransigent position that says that we'll close it and we're not going to open it up or even give anybody the opportunity to do so for the purposes of the district election, I think that is problematic.
Duke, let's hear you also as the lead strategist for Alan Tremanting, who it does appear if nothing significant happens, he will be on the ballot in 2024. What do you also say? Because Alan is seeking to leverage on youth, young voters, and those who are being captured now, the majority of them are those who are now turning 18. The EC said it had a target of 700,000. So far, it has done 673, and from the way it sees it, by the time it ends the program, it would have captured 800 to 900. So what's the need for this complaint? Please unmute your mic. All right, we have difficulty hearing Duke make his submissions, but let me come to the studio and begin with Nana Kumia. So the EC says we are almost hitting our target. So why should people be complaining, irrespective of the fact that we know that some will not be registered? They know that for a fact. But there's a window after this, so they should wait.
Well, let me wish our audience a good morning. Also, my very good friend Haruna, whom I haven't seen in a while, and you yourself in your flowing robes. I understand it's a special occasion this morning.
Yes, I'm heading to a wedding.
Okay. Felicitations to the new couple. Samson, these Electoral Commission registration exercises, as far as I remember, have always been fraught with disagreements. Always. From registration of minors and political parties challenge and disputes about the venues for every registration, there's an issue. And this year's registration is no different. I mean, just play back all the other registrations that it did. There's an issue. We don't agree. We don't agree to this. The timing is not good. There's COVID. There's this. All over, every time. I think the time has come to put a bottom line to these disputes that come up every time we are going to have some registration. And Parliament is key. The Electoral Commission is an independent body, fine. But they take their requirements to Parliament. When they take their requirements, their financial requirements to Parliament, they accompany it with a work plan. Because they just don't go to Parliament and say, give us 50 million Ghana cedis. They tell Parliament what they are going to use the monies for. That platform should give us an opportunity to be on the same page as to what exactly the Electoral Commission will be doing for that particular year, how they are going to do it, the timing of those events. And everybody is in agreement at that table so that we know the Electoral Commission is being given 60 million cedis for 2023. They are going to conduct registration for new qualified Ghanaians and so on. They are going to do it at electoral areas, or they are going to do it at their district offices. And they are going to do it from this time to this time, and it will cost so much. So that right from the get-go in January, February, the whole nation knows what the Electoral Commission is going to do and how it's going to do it. So that there is no dispute. Why are you doing it at electoral areas? Look at the size of my constituency. Why are you doing it at this time? It's the rainy season. Every time. So, Samson, if we don't do that, next year, the Electoral Commission will bring some registration and we'll still be squabbling. And these squabbles may have had them, depending on which party is speaking. It's time that we think forward. And I believe that the way forward is to nail the work plan of the Electoral Commission at the hearings when their budget is being considered. And then we all know there's certainty. The name of the game is certainty, not surprises.
I heard you share the concerns, just like the NCC, the CODEO, the political parties that came together in a coalition. I heard you share the concerns that there was reason for the Electoral Commission to listen and to expand to the thousands of electoral areas rather than limiting it to its less than 300 district offices.
No, I mean, of course, the wider the spread of the registration centers, the easier people would have access. I'm not even talking about some of the countryside constituencies where distances can be really big. You can have one countryside constituency and the distance from one end to the other is about 100 kilometers.
I had to make an example even with your own constituency in town.
Take this constituency, Okaikwe South, which is just across the road from that's Okaikwe South. It stretches from Abeka Junction to Nkrumah Circle to the Accra Academy Bubuashi Road up to Kokompe. That roughly is the constituency. Now, the Electoral Commission district office is at Kaneshi, behind the Kaneshi market. If somebody lives at Adaman, which is the original name of the settlement at Abeka Junction, it's Adaman. If somebody lives at Adaman, and there's a village there, quite a populated village, and they want to go to the Electoral Commission's office at Kaneshi, they have to take 2 trotros. Because they're walking, walking from Abeka Junction or Adama to Kaneshi Market is far. If they take trotro, they have to take 1 trotro to Circle, Nkrumah Circle, and then take another one from Nkrumah Circle to Kaneshi. And then when they finish, they have to use the same route back, one from Kaneshi to Nkrumah Circle and Nkrumah Circle, because you're not going to get a direct trotro from Kaneshi Market to either. So this is,
and they will have to carry along their guarantors.
They have to,
if they don't have a guarantor.
And this is in the middle of Accra. I mean, you can't get more metropolitan than that. You can't get more compact than that. But these are the distances that people would face. You see, so somebody is at Accra Academy, that area, they call it Bubui. They might also have to take 2 trotros to be able to, one to Circle and then one to Kaneshi. So even in metropolitan Accra, it can be difficult. If you spread it to electoral areas, then that electoral area, it's called Gontain. That's the Abeka Junction Circle electoral area. It's called Gontain. And you'll probably be doing it for that electoral area at a polling station at Circle. Or if you take Mukose, which is North Kaneshi, and so you have about 12 polling stations. But it's within walking distance. CMB Flats, North Kaneshi, last stop, Amankwa Blocks. It's within walking distance. 10 minutes you'll be. So it's easier. But the Electoral Commission may say that funding and logistics, and timing.
That's why
I've heard them say that,
this should be settled in Parliament.
That is what I'm saying. That
Parliament should say, if you are looking for 20 million, we know that you're going to capture, use all the electoral center,
what I'm saying, when the Electoral Commission comes with the budget and it says, give me 60 million for this year, it comes with a work plan.
That's right.
And Parliament, in considering the estimates or the request, we'll look at the work plan.
That's right.
So we'll say, okay, so you're going to do a registration exercise this year. How are you going to do it? Oh, we'll do it at the district centers. Well, the district centers is difficult. Why can't you do the electoral areas? Well, if I do electoral areas, and then you have to add some 2 million cities. Okay, go and bring estimates and let's see. So if Parliament agrees that yes, it's going to be happening at district centers or it's going to happen at electoral areas, then that is it. Okay. And the money is provided. And there is certainty right from January what is going to happen. And then you don't have these squabbles.
But what will you say briefly about the Boku situation, where they wanted to agree with the 2 parties so that they could have additional centers? Because the Boku situation is such that certain places are under the control of certain people. And so people are not able to move from one end to the next for the purposes of the registration. So if we know that this ethnic group that is against the other one, they are in this place, we create one for them, and then we create another for. So they were looking to create about, I think, 4 or so of them. And the NDC had a disagreement. The EC's office is in town, and in the town, the belief is that majority of the people there are pro-government, sort of MPP. And so they wanted 3 extra centers to cater for some equality or equity of the process. And They didn't seem to get what they wanted, so they didn't agree. And the EC says, since there was no agreement between the two parties, it is keeping to what it has, and then it will not move beyond that.
Well, I think we all agree that Boku is probably a special case. And indeed, the EC has a provision for special cases where the distances are really some way. They have the leeway to establish extra polling station registration centers. So, and we all know Boku is a special case because of the peculiar security situation at Boku. But look at what is happening. Of course, the consultation would have to be four-way. The people in the area, the Electoral Commission, and of course the two big political parties. That's right. To represent all the political parties. So it has to be four-way. Electoral Commission, the people of Boku, and then the two political parties. Now, if there's no agreement, then we are in trouble. So let's urge all the parties to come to an agreement, particularly because of the volatile security situation.
Is it not too late in the day? The process is almost over.
It's never too late to secure peace.
So if you are doing for them, then you have to extend it.
I'm saying that it's never too late to secure peace. Okay. So if some provision has to be made for a few extra days, because you don't want to go and force something through that will create security problems.
Okay.
Then you would have regretted.
Yes.
Samson, thank you very much. I've listened to Nana Akumia and your personal take.
Is that your handwriting?
And I borrow your words, Samson.
Is that your handwriting?
Yes. The Electoral Commission
like a doctor's handwriting.
Must facilitate, not frustrate, the right to vote. And it's important that we situate the right to vote well. I have difficulties with all of us, save for the quote that I have borrowed from you, that the right to vote is the most enshrined in any constitution. Again, you say inalienable right, guaranteed under the Constitution. In a functional democracy, it's very essential. And the Electoral Commission and its actors, including the chairperson, deputy commission, must stop insulting Ghanaians with those ugly words that wait until next year. It is not a right on sale or for sale. It's a deserved, legitimate, constitutional right conferred on every Ghanaian citizen who has attained 18 and of sound mind, consistent with the provisions of Article 42. So the premise must be that all the benefits guaranteed Ghanaian citizens under the Constitution, including the right to vote, must be of easy access to every Ghanaian. So nobody should behave as if you are doing any Ghanaian a favor to get that Ghanaian registered to vote or responding to issues. I'll come to Boku. It is a guaranteed constitutional right. And therefore, government and the Electoral Commission have a responsibility to every Ghanaian to provide ease of access to that right. Don't forget, Samson, the right to vote and registering to vote confers three important rights. One, it gives you the opportunity to participate in the political decision-making process, to influence decisions, to change government. The enthusiasm has been great across the country, given the number of polling stations I have visited personally. Maybe there is a new quest to change government. Young people want to see government change. It also confers on you the right to be voted for. So if you want to be voted for in an election, you acquire it only by being a registered voter.
And also the right to appointment to certain public offices.
Absolutely. Then more importantly, Article 94, as you've referred to it. So let's not treat the right to vote as if it's one of those commodities in the market on sale, that somebody is offering it for sale. Do your best to get it to buy. If you say democracy is expensive, go to Burkina Faso or Gabon. You appreciate why Ghana must invest more. So that
by what you are saying,
yes,
if there was somebody who wanted to contest the district assembly elections,
absolutely,
and didn't have the opportunity to register,
you are denied that. Absolutely,
right.
And what kind of compensation can you give that person? Or he wants to change the government, you've denied him the opportunity. Then, Samson, I wonder sometimes when I listen to us as Ghanaians, what is this business of wanting to register to vote, whether district officers or constituency officers or electoral officers? I address one of the concerns raised by Nana Akumia, where you bring in Parliament. I've had the rare privilege to chair even sessions of approval of the EC budget. At least I should say, thanks to the late Basua, the MP for Kumao, who was chairman and I was vice chair, then Osaichi Mensa Bonsu and my good self. And we do have soft spot for independent constitutional bodies. So I'll respond to it. Now, I've heard the Electoral Commission also argue publicly that blame Parliament. No, they got it wrong. Parliament doesn't prepare budget for the Electoral Commission. Parliament doesn't prepare your financial estimates. What Parliament does is to consider your proposed estimate for purpose of approval and for purpose of allocating money. So if you say that blame Parliament, what did you submit before the Special Budget Committee? Don't forget, Samson, even this right.
Are they blaming?
How come? Yes, I've heard them publicly say that blame Parliament, that Parliament didn't do allocation.
But you can suggest to them if what they bring to you.
And I say we have.
It's not enough.
I'm sure even the last session of the EC budget, I probably chaired or vice chaired the committee. We are saying that 2020, 21, 22, 23. It's only in 23 you are conducting a limited voter registration exercise. Why? That itself is a constitutional wrong. Every Ghanaian, Article 42 of 18 years of sound mind. So I look forward to a Ghana, maybe a Ghana under John Dramani Mahama, not them, a Ghana where any Ghanaian who attains the age of 18 can voluntarily and freely walk to any office of the Electoral Commission to get registered to vote.
That law was made in 2016.
I supported
right?
it and I've spoken to it.
So that law is there.
We have to facilitate it. So what is the Electoral Commission doing about it? So I come now to his argument.
The Electoral Commission now is tying that continuous voters registration exercise to Ghana card, which you are refusing to approve for.
First of all, no, even Ghana card, again, statistically they've been proven wrong. Samson, your men have gone around the polling stations. Is it Indians and Chinese who are queuing to get registered to vote? It's Ghanaians. They are being guaranteed. And I understand that statistically 63 persons have guaranteed for some Ghanaians to get registered to be on the electoral roll. Article 45, a function of the Electoral Commission to compile a voter register. I'm saying that I look forward to a Ghana where with ease you only need to walk to an EC office with whatever makes you a Ghanaian in order that you get registered to vote. And I'm promising that under John Dramani Mahama, this should be done within the first 100 years. Of 100 days, the first 100 days of his presidency. Even though the Electoral Commission is independent, government will facilitate their ability to be able to do that. Now, Samson, electoral area and district officers, and it is not as if, Nana Akumia, it's not as if the chairperson and her men have not been appraised of this issue, not at all. We summoned them before the Special Budget Committee, not one, not two. There was even Committee of the Whole, where we had discussions with the Electoral Commission on how to facilitate this particular process. Now, the benefit of registering voters at a polling station, how come that the MPP, you have polling station executives? Because all the political parties have learned from the process. So voters go to where they vote on election day. So first of all, the political benefit of registering me at my polling station gives me the benefit on election day to know where to cast my vote. That is politically beneficial to the individual, to the Electoral Commission, and to Ghana's democracy. Now, if you say district officers, you have related to cost in Accra. I mean, take Daboya and take Mount Cargo. In fact, when the EC chairperson and her deputies appeared before Parliament, I used the example of Bole, where it may probably even take you more than a day to cross over to the district office in order to get registered as a voter. In the Afram Plains, you may have similar positions. I've heard Honorable Betty talk about the difficulty she is going through in terms of voters. I've heard an MP of the New Patriotic Party, not NDC, say that I'll spend over 30,000 transporting persons, is that his responsibility? Must that additional burden be shifted on it? So, Samson, we should discuss this matter within the context that the Electoral Commission must appreciate that they are not doing any Ghanaian any favor.
Okay.
They have been conferred a mandate and authority to compile a voter register.
So
and
what
to
you
borrow your words,
what you having
to
now?
facilitate and not frustrate voters, and to make sure that they prepare the grounds for a credible, free, and fair elections. Don't take these matters for granted. It is at the core of the integrity of any elections. If my right to get registered is denied, then you are denying me even the right to vote and the right to possibly influence change in the decision making.
So what should happen
so
now?
that is that the Electoral Commission must have special opportunity for people in the Boku area who are torn not just on partisan lines but on chieftaincy, ethnic, other social dimensions, which is not allowing persons to vote. All of us must be concerned. What happens to Boku even on election day? Who can go where and who cannot go where? Who can campaign where and who cannot campaign where? I've had one interesting example where I attended a wedding in Boku, and immediately I left. The interpretation that was given to my visit gave me cause to be worried about the nature of the violent conflict in Boku. And the state and its security apparatus must not look on. Every other day we are told that 6-7 people have been murdered, killed in Boku. What is the Ministry of Interior doing? What is the minister responsible for national security doing? So don't just look at Boku as if it's normal now in Ghana. You are also talking about threats of terrorism within that particular area. Right. And that becomes a veritable path for anybody to launch onto our country, whilst calling for calm for the people of Boku, calling for peace. They've coexisted. Whether
the process is almost over. What should be done now for places like Boku and also far to reach places where the EC had initially given a certain indication that it was going to multiply the centers, even if it was not going to
Samson, I wish we had time. This is my practical experience. Part of the problem of the EC equipment is IT, broadband, internet connectivity, offline and online. Is about the presence of internet connectivity within that particular area. I'm aware that sometime in our history, we deployed this infrastructure. What has happened to it? That you have to go offline and then you register the person manual and you are asked to stop. But the enthusiasm is massive, is great. Young people are interested in participating in the decision-making process of our country. We should hold this as a guaranteed constitutional right. So officers and men of the Electoral Commission don't speak as if you are giving any Ghanaian any favor or doing any favor to any Ghanaian by ensuring that we get right to register to vote. Okay. It's your constitutional right. And the resource-wise, Nana, I presided over partly the budget of Electoral Commission. We kept reminding her that you have not registered voters for 2021. She kept saying Ghana card. And Samson, let me conclude on that. Ghana card, nobody is saying that don't use Ghana card, but make it available and accessible to those so that it becomes your ultimate system. Are you saying that the people queuing throughout the country are Chinese or Indians?
Well, the EC is concerned about minors that are being, bussed to also register in the process. Very, very concerned. We can hear Duke now, Aaron. If we can hear him, and then after him we take a break and return to look at Alan Shermanting and whether or not he can make any impact in the 2024 elections. Alan Shermanting has been saying that his movement of change, his movement for change is going to focus on the youth, because out of the over 17 million registered voters in the 2020 general elections, the youth aged between 18 and 35 constituted 9.4 million voters, representing 55% of the total voters, and that's where he's going to focus on. Are they concerned about what is going on now? Hello, Duke.
And to esteemed panelists, I them both for many years, and it's an honor to be on this platform with them all, including my elder brother online. And to all young people across the country, I say a good morning to you all and to every Kenyan as well. What has really struck me this morning is what the Honorable Idrisu just said. He says that he talked about the right to influence change. The right to influence change as being a fundamental element that all young people should have access to. It tells you that within this registration process, young people must be at the core of the discussion, because the discussions of our economy, discussions of human rights, and all other factors of our state are ones that, as young people, at heart. And so when you have a registration process that, even if it is only perceived, that there is a perception of frustration in the system, that perception alone becomes an inhibiting factor to how young people troop out to register in the process. And so we have to also borrow the comments of the Honorable Akumia, who mentioned the fact that communication is highly important in here, so that within the limits of the authority of the Electoral Commission, they need to communicate well with prior notice as to the rationale behind their levels of engagement, so that in as much as they might not have any ulterior motives, you try to avoid these levels of perceptions that seems to suggest that there is a structural objective to limit voter registration among young people. And
the Electoral Commission has been very clear that the intention during this exercise is not to capture all, and that there will be a window in 2024 when there will be continuous registration, so people can continue the registration process.
So, Samson, I think that the analysis of future assurances as against existing levels of participation needs to be discussed. Making future promises within state institutions is one that we have heard for so many years. What we can attest to is what is happening now, and whether what is happening now is one that allows people to exercise their right to vote in principle, so that promises will not be a base of assessment. When we get there next year, we'll have to make an assessment as well. And so we wouldn't have to wait till next year, then we come back crying on existing issues or issues that could have been resolved. How you address issues now gives us an idea how issues will be addressed when in the next year as well. So we have every right to complain. And so the analysis of a future assurance is one that shouldn't hold at all.
You don't think the EC will take every step and make every effort to avoid anybody being disenfranchised? Because if you remember, it took one person, Ayi Mensah, his name. He was being frustrated in participating in the district assembly elections. He went to the Supreme Court and he stopped the whole exercise. And we are told that Ghana, lost millions of cedis because we had done everything ready. We're just about to have the process, and then he stopped it. There's situations where the Supreme Court has held one individual's right, like Tenadi, that you must not let them off. They must be registered also to participate in the process. You think the EC will play and toy with such a situation because it can take one person to stop the whole 2024 elections?
Definitely, I agree with you. And I think that the right of an individual within the limits of the Constitution and case law, as you've rightly said, has really been established. What I'm saying is that conversations need to be had within existing frameworks or within existing structures, so that you and I and all panelists can make a fair assessment based on how things are happening now. Now, we can also then, when it gets to next year, make a fair assessment whether there has been progress or not. But we also have a right to make an assessment quite creditably on how things are being run now, so that, next year will come, and we are hopeful that the Electoral Commission, in its quest to have a transparent process, would address all concerns. But on the basis of what is happening now, you and I have an obligation to also voice out these things, because the issue of perception is very important in electoral processes, especially within our political discourse. The perception of frustration can have an impact on how even people are willing to be part of the registration process when it comes to the next year. So that even if it is not actual, how you manage the perception conversation is very, very important. And I believe that the senior panelists on your platform have shared the same as I have in their respective submissions. At the end of the day, progress will be made. That progress can only be made based on the transparency in communication and the transparency in how systems are being put out there. But once again, I also will agree with you that hopefully next year things will be better, but it does not in any way deny you and I the right to voice our concerns as to the challenges that exist today.
All right. Thank you very much, Duke. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we will check if Alan Kyerematen is being realistic about his chances in the 2024 elections.
On here. And then you Nana B, are respected. In fact, I have to tell you, most of the young people, you were the one I respected them when you were youth organizer. But then, now the misbehavior has gone way too much. Look at someone like Wontumi. He has effectively become the campaign manager of Bawumia. How can you take a side when you are supposed to be the referee?
Oh, Charlie, close the window small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire where you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem. In the sun problem. Common light bulb stuff.
This no matter. I beg go Robert and Sons. Oh, yeah. Then my chick to him, I know correct. Where Robert and Sons sort them out sharp. Now, so stylish frames in the rock.
We go Robert and Sons right in. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabraka, Adenta, Kumasi, Usudankwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
My way insurance, send my way,
My name is Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policyholder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya My Way. No way.
My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
The Ministry of Education, through the National Teaching Council, presents the Ghana Teacher Prize 2023 on the theme, The Teachers We Need for the Education We Want, the global imperative to reverse the teacher shortage. Guest of honor, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The most outstanding teacher will be awarded with a 3-bedroom apartment. First runner-up goes with a 4x4 pickup. Second runner-up gets a saloon car. The best teacher in leadership and administration gets a saloon car. The best College of Education tutor gets a 4x4 pickup. Other categories to be awarded include the best preschool teacher, the best primary school teacher, the best junior high school teacher, the best senior high TVET school teacher, the best non-teaching staff. Activities include a 2-day symposium on the 3rd and 4th of October 2023 at Akroma Plaza Hotel, Takoradi at 9 a.m. and a Grand Durbar on Thursday, 5th October 2023 at exactly 9 a.m. at Ghana Secondary Technical School, GSTS Auditorium, Takoradi. Sponsors: Get Fund, GES Occupational Pension Scheme, Glyco Pension, Prudential Bank Limited, SIC Life, Databank Limited, Investcorp, Petra Trust, T-Tel, UNESCO, UNICEF, Global Institute of Resource Development Limited, GCB Bank, Ghana Chamber of Mines, IC Giving, Sabre Education, Lower Pra Rural Bank, Benso Oil Palm Plantation, NAT, NAGRAT, CCT, TEU, Media partner, Multimedia Group Limited. Ghana Teacher Prize 2023, My Teacher, My Future.
These apply.
Daddy, this tank is big.
Yes, that's true.
It can store a lot of water.
That's so true.
Wow, it has a working tortoise on it.
That's so true.
I can see S-I-N-T-E-X. Syntax.
That is so true, my daughter.
When it falls down, it will spoil.
That's not true.
But why?
Yay! Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. Syntex again was the first to introduce white inner layers in Ghana. Syntex gives you the biggest warranty, 7 years. No matter your water needs, Syntex is the answer. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
Best Brain Publication is an educational publishing firm with an in-depth knowledge in the new standard-based curriculum. We deliver quality content by investing in authorial skills and editorial refinement. Our team of experts have meticulously developed books in all subject areas.
Yes, I did it.
Dudu, how did you do it?
I used the best way book to connect the computer.
Oh, that's my ball.
All our books rest on 6 broad core skills: creativity and imagination, student leadership, citizenship, critical thinking and problem solving, digital literacy, collaboration and communication. For preschool, we have literacy, numeracy, phonics and writing. For kindergarten, we have literacy, numeracy, our world and our people, creative arts, phonics, writing and picture reading. For basic 1 to 6, we have mathematics, science, English, our world and our people, computing, history, religious and moral education, creative arts, Asante Chi and Equiapim Chi. For basic 7, 8 and 9, we have mathematics, science, religious and moral education, social studies, creative arts, career technology and computing. And we also have questions and answers for all subjects. We have provided links and QR codes under the various topics in our books to link to the world and find out what other people are also learning. Contact us on 0507 200 200. Best Brain Publication. Tomorrow's education today.
Fellow countrymen and women, I joined the new Patriotic Party at the very beginning of its establishment as a founding member, believing in its core values and the long-standing traditions of its antecedents, predicated on the principles of fairness, equity, probity, accountability, and transparency. I have devoted the best part of my professional career to serving the party, and I still believe in the vision of the founding fathers of the party. However, the NPP, as it exists now, has very little resemblance to the party that I joined in 1992 and helped to launch. Thank you. The party has been hijacked by a selected group of party leaders and elders, government appointees, behind the curtain power brokers and some unscrupulous party apparatchiks.
The party wants to believe
that by his decision to hold a press conference to resign without first informing the leadership of the party suggests that he made a premeditated and irrevocable decision to resign from the party. The leadership of the party equally disagrees with the assertion made by Mr. Chematin in page 8 of his resignation address that the party has been hijacked by a selected group of party leaders and elders and government appointees behind the curtain power brokers. Guided by the facts and data, the leadership of the party disagree entirely with this assertion. Historically, the selection of flag bearers for political parties in Ghana had been the preserve of a privileged few until the new patriotic party took the bold decision to decentralize the process by expanding its electoral college to enfranchise some 106,590 delegates in 2010. Currently, about 200,000 delegates will be voting to select the party's next flag bearer relative to the estimated 1,998 who did same in 1992. Clearly, the quantum leap to 200,000 delegates in 2023 underscores the decentralization of power to all party stakeholders and defeat the assertion that the party has been hijacked by a privileged few.
On Alan's claim that his supporters were intimidated, the party strongly disagreed.
In reference to Mr. Chematin's concerns, which include allegations of intimidation against his supporters, it is noteworthy that certain government appointees, including cabinet ministers, who openly declared their support for him, are still at post and have never been intimidated.
Right, you're still here on Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and my guest, Dr. Theo Champong, economist and political risk analyst. Haruna Idrisu is MP, Tamale South, and former minority leader, Nana Kumia member, New Patriotic Party Communications, and Duke Aaron Sasu is lead strategist, Movement for Change. That's Alan Chematin's movement. I'll begin with you again. Do you give Alan some credit for some of the claims that he makes, despite how much that hurts the NPP? Hello, Dr. Champong.
Good morning. Yes, Samson, I'm here. Yes.
Right.
I mean, the number of issues that he raises in that press statement, some of them around intimidation of his supporters. He talks about the party being hijacked by different people, including people that are literally, in positions of authority, but wield great influence in terms of the direction of the party. Some of these are sessions that many of us have heard, whether formally or informally, although of course it's difficult to prove or corroborate. But the fundamental point for me in terms of Alan leaving really is, what is his strategic game or intent? Is he wanting to contest and win as an independent candidate on his Movement for Change platform, or is he trying to become a kingmaker? In other words, force the election into a second round and then therefore become a junior coalition partner in some sort of government of national unity.
What do you see?
If you look at these two, and I'll support it with some data points, right? If it is the former, in terms of him trying to become or contest and win as an independent candidate, then he should forget about it, because the historical antecedents in Ghana with becoming president, the history does not support that. And breakaway parties historically have performed very abysmally or negligibly in our elections in the country. And I actually have two
history can be made.
history can always be changed. There's always the unknown, and then we can even say there's the known unknown. But in this particular context, and this is why I think the data and then what we're seeing is quite important, right? You need to look at two data sources, one from Afrobarometer and the actual election outcomes. The Afrobarometer data, and this is from round 3 in 2005, all the way to round 9 round 9 in 2022, right? There is a question there that asks people about their intent to vote. And then we also have, when you look at the data on the election, the actual vote share. In fact, if you look at the data from Afrobarometer, from round 3 in 2005, all the way to that round 9, you almost see a cementing of the duopoly of the MPP and the NDC. So when people are asked the question, if a presidential election were held tomorrow, which party candidate would you vote for? Back in 2005, it was around 5% of the sample, and this is a national representative sample, that indicated that they would vote for any other party aside MPP and NDC. If you actually look at the data coming now all the way through, it's been coming down negligibly, it's still around the 3 to sort of 4% mark. The second point, an important data point, is let's look at actually the actual vote shares of these third parties. And if you look at the actual vote share of the third parties vis-a-vis when we started this democratic exercise in 1992, they've actually been declining and been losing votes over the period. So between the NDC and the MPP, collectively, they have controlled about 97% of the actual vote share since 1992. And in some years, it dips. But the biggest year that we've ever seen a third party, make a big change was actually in the year 2000, when we had the Grand Coalition. And in that 2000 election, they were able to get just about 7% of that vote. But since that time, if you look at it, it's just been going down and down and down. So in essence, it's like Ghanaians have almost accepted this duopoly of the MPP and the NDC, and therefore no single third party or candidate has not been able to secure more than 3% of the vote. And if you do the analysis again with the numbers and the data, to be able to force the election into a second round, and if that is the intent of Alan through his party, he needs to be able to get about 5%, right, of the total, vote share. And the claims that then he makes about tapping into the middle class voters and all of that, yes, that then becomes quite important. So the middle class and then the youth vote is important if he wants to push the election into a second round, but it would not be enough for him to actually win the election.
All right, thank you. That's a great way to start this discussion. Haruna, what do you say? Some say, but for the intention to damage the NPP, this doesn't serve any purpose.
Arguably something, not for me to make a judgment on Alan Chimanting's decision to quit and to depart from the New Patriotic Party and want to run on his own. But probably, if you look at it deeper, it probably may be a momentary lapse of judgment. What Alan Chimanting has done is to demonstrate his utmost displeasure and disappointment at the internal wranglings and running within the New Patriotic Party, and to shy away from its values that he shared, and to think that he probably can make it as an independent candidate. I cannot but agree with Dr. Tua Champong that it's unlikely that Alan Kojo Chimanting will succeed as an independent candidate to win the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections.
He can win. He can't also push it.
I see a victory. But what he has done is he has endorsed change. Simple. Alan has simply endorsed that where the country is, he used his word, movement for change. So he simply have endorsed change. So he's welcome.
But he's talking about a particular change.
No,
he says the people are tired of the duopoly.
Welcome to the club for change. Primary, he's endorsed change. That change manifests in the fact that he's unhappy the way the MPP prosecuted its internal elections the last time. And Samson, I would give you some assignment. I know that you take interest in in legislation that affects political parties. Article 55. How many of our political parties are living to the tenant spirit and letter of Article 55? Are their activities internally democratic? Are they vehicles only for purposes of mobilizing for election? Or are they determining and influencing policy? These are questions I'd like you to tease more as you research into it. But Alan, unlikely to win as an independent candidate, he would do damage and hurt to the New Patriotic Party because he believes in change. And he believes in change because they have underperformed. I mean, I wonder when I hear persons in the New Patriotic Party say that they want to break the eight. Break the eight to exacerbate the suffering of Ghanaians, or to do what? I mean, you came on a pledge that you end the suffering of the Ghanaian people. Today, in history, unprecedented suffering of the Ghanaian under your watch. I mean, Ghana as a rising star in Africa with promise in our economy, we are now witnessing the worst of our economic times. And therefore, what Alan has done is to draw attention that the internal politics of the New Patriotic Party, I listened to the General Secretary and has provided some useful statistics from 1,900 delegates to 200,000 delegates. That represents a tremendous an enormous expansion of the electoral college. But much more can be done. You are talking of millions of voters. Ultimately, over 10 million Ghanaians will take the decision. If you have 200,000, I do not still think that it's representative enough. So both political parties, NDC and MPP, have room to reform so that more persons can be part of the decision-making process. I know that all of them ran to what we call polling station executives, which are about 9 in an electoral area, and not a polling station. And that polling station can have a population of over 10 to 20,000 voters, depending upon which particular constituency. Now, middle class and youth voters, which youth voters? What the youth voters want is change. So Alan represents that change. But the likelihood that he will carry young voters is not likely.
But you are talking about him embracing change because of non-performance of their party in government. But that's not exactly
party in government.
But that's not exactly what he's talking about. He's talking about the party deteriorating in terms of its ethics
and values.
And values, but not about their performance. He talks about how he feels that the system has been, arranged such that, and everybody talks about it as if you must support Bawumia or you are an enemy. He actually says his people are treated as enemies.
And I'm saying that when I listened to the General Secretary, and he says that there was no intimidation. In fact, there was beating and physical assault. So why are you hiding behind words and say that persons are still in office and they've not been intimidated? Isolated cases, but it was general. We've seen all the other aspirants, whether it's a Jako, a Japong, or the other, complain about the process and procedure. Even the determination of who qualified to be represented. There were arguments about how the headquarters numbers were determined. Were they consulted as a likely flag bearer? But to come to think of it, when you look at the policy...
People have a concern that how do you trust Alan when he says what he's saying? Because in the political parties, these things happen, where there is a preferred candidate of sort.
We shouldn't endorse it.
There's a preferred candidate of sort. And almost everybody is whipped to support that particular candidate. In the NDC, it wasn't any different.
Like
when in the lead up to election of the flag bearer.
No, Dufour ran, later withdrew. The former mayor of Kumasi ran when the full hawk. There was competitiveness within it. We're lucky that we have a dominant flag bearer who is popular at the grassroots of the party, and therefore they endorsed him 100%. It's unlike you are prevented. In Alan's case, it's as if he was tied down and asked to run a race with somebody tied down with ropes. That's how I would.
How is that manifested differently from what we saw in the NDC?
And I'm saying that in their case, they have what we call an establishment candidate versus all others. So Dr. Bawumia is perceived, rightly or wrongly, as an establishment candidate against all others. That may be part of the consequence of what we are seeing, which is building up the apprehension and the disappointment. So the MPP internally must do a rethink to improve its democratic processes and its internal democratic processes and its reach to those potentially wanting to lead the party.
In fact,
I do agree with you
Ejaku has said that Alan definitely is not alone, and that there are definitely many people within the party who are in his situation, except that they have not checked out, and the party should be careful.
And Samson, what we need to observe, I've listened to Dr. Tua Champon's statistics. What Alan needs to do is to garner 3 to 5% of the total vote for the 2024 presidential and parliamentary election, and he's likely to cause some political havoc or damage, not just to the New Patriotic Party, but compel the election into a second round if he's able to get 3 to 5%. Whether that is doable, I'm unable to make a pronouncement on it today. Let's see how he launches his butterfly. Even the destructive elephant itself, nobody wants it in town now, and you are coming with a poisonous butterfly, as I've heard somebody. I think interesting times ahead of our country. The New Patriotic Party had projected itself as one democratic whole. That reputation, they are losing it. If you listen to Alan and listen to persons like Ejaku, you'll be disappointed that this is not the New Patriotic Party which was launched in 1992.
It's not the first time any party stalwart would have broken away from the party.
Others. As a stalwart of the party, they must be worried whether his following will go with him or not. That too early to make a pronouncement. I've seen a number of MPs hitherto loyal to him who have said that, and that has always been my position, loyalty should never be to a person or an individual. It should be to the institution of the party. My loyalty is to the NDC, not to any person in the NDC. But in their case, I've seen what may happen, something, and we have to watch it again, is in the process leading to the New Patriotic Party parliamentary primaries, a number of MPs may be rejected, maybe substantially. A number of them may choose to run independent and join the movement for change. So we may have a situation where for the first time in Parliament, the number of independents may increase, depending upon where they come from. And that is also something the New Patriotic Party must watch. Now, this is a matter that immediately after the elections, the party ought to have engaged the aspirants. I'm not sure they did that.
They did. They said they did. Except that
maybe they didn't do enough to assuage his head and the head of many other people. But in terms of message, I'm encouraged by some of the themes that Alan touched. Adding value, providing employment opportunities for young people. But the question would be, you've been in office first, second time supporting Nana Addo Dankwa. What employment have you been able? Absolutely. What employment have you been able to create? And then you also have to find out that within the New Patriotic Party, dissent. What's the level of tolerance for dissent?
Okay, well, he says if you want to measure him by what he has done as part of the executive, you'll be wrong, because now he's seeking the power to be able to determine what amount from the purse should be dedicated to his agenda of transforming the economy. Yes, Nana Kumia. These are not good times for you.
Well, Samson, if you had watched my face, you could see I was very amused at the sentiments expressed by Haruna Idrisu. Yes, and I'm surprised at those sentiments. It almost comes across as Haruna Idrisu being self-righteous. There he's accusing NPP of something they're attempting to break the 8. So what was NDC doing in the year 2000 elections? They were also trying to break the 8. And they told us they were going to do it. What were they doing in the year 2016 elections? They were trying to break the 8. And Haruna was one of their leading collaborators. Today he's questioning why somebody, other party is trying to break the 8. Huh, Haruna? Where is this from? Then he says that, as for the NDC, John Mahama has been a popular flag bearer who was endorsed by the party. Overwhelmingly. But as for somebody, he's an establishment candidate and other people have been tied down. You are tickling yourself and laughing. You are tickling yourself and laughing. Your party, and you're talking about the internal democracy in NPP, your party, you suffered a breakaway in 1999. The Guzitano group, reform. And they challenged you over 2 elections. Your whole national chairman, Obeda Samoa, railing against internal difficulties and intimidation and harassment and no democracy in the... And he as a national chairman. And indeed, he put justification to himself by breaking away and forming, and I'm seeing him on your screen.
The DFP.
Yes, and look at it. Former party chairman of the NDC broke away from this to form Democratic Freedom Party. Your own national chairman. And I can talk here about the internal democracy was some party. Where were you when your national chairman was breaking away? In fact, beyond the national chairman, the founder of the NDC, Jerry John Rawlings, even he left your party and co-founded another party.
Jerry Rawlings?
Yes, he co-founded, what's the Wise Party's name?
Is he the
What is it? What is it?
Yes,
co-founder. Yeah, go and check.
Co-founder?
Your own founder.
Co-founder?
Yes.
Okay.
On paper or in reality, where is this coming from? Rawlings remains.
Rawlings, the
NDC
till
his death.
Rawlings.
Yes.
The documents of the wives. Let me make my point. Write it down. The documents of the wives' party.
At the electoral
they cite him as co-founder. He's never denied it.
No, it's not for
anyway. It's not for him to deny it, but it's for you to deny it.
No, I think possibly you should put things on him in his grave quietly. Rawlings was never a founder of the Democratic Freedom Party of the wife. Even the daughter, Zanato, is with us in Parliament on the ticket of the
I'm not talking of the daughter, I'm talking of the man.
And I'm saying Rawlings remained a founder.
All right. And I'm saying to you that his wife's party, which contested against him, in any case, his wife, broke away from your party.
Say so.
Broke away.
Nobody will contest that.
His wife, Kunedu Ajima Rawlings, broke away from your party, citing the same things.
National Democratic Party.
So don't come here and tell us that we don't have internal democracy. And you have internal democracy. What is that? Look, let me go beyond that and tell you something. All the primaries that you have had in your party, the people who stood against John Mahama, they've made the same complaints about John Mahama being the establishment candidate. You are saying that he's a popular flag bearer. The people who contested against him, they say that he's the establishment candidate. The whole thing is being rigged to favor him. And you know it. Am I lying?
I don't.
You don't. Let me remind you.
So what's the point?
The point, you shouldn't be coming here to adopt this righteous. Let me remind you. Look, Samson, in 2018 primaries, when you're going for your primaries for the 2020 election, Alabi contested John Mahama. When Alabi's agent, Ken Jurasa, former Deputy Speaker of Parliament, was going to pick Alabi's forms on the 5th of December, he complained when he was picking the forms that the executives were openly endorsing a flag bearer aspirant. When Guzitano was picking his forms on the 18th of December, he said that he will win the elections if they are conducted fairly. The next day, he came to meet you, the MPs, on 19th December 2018. And when he was speaking to you, he lamented the widespread intimidation against he and his supporters and his campaign team. When he met before, I'm sure at that time you were the minority leader or something. I come to tell us that you don't know. The 6 aspirants against John Mahama in 2018, they bound together and they issued a statement. They requested that even the printing of the ballot should not be done at a particular, that it should be done at Assembly Press. And on and on, because you don't have time. I could go on to Dufour in 2022. What Dufour said, and actually stepped down. So please, people may have difficulties. People may have. I'm addressing you first because you are sitting here. People may have difficulties with their political parties. There's no problem. But don't come and sit here and pretend that some other party is suffering from that perception. And you people, you are a holy. And that you there.
At this moment, you are the party that's been hit hard by this.
Yes, but I need to deal with the peripheral issues being raised by Haruna because he's sitting here, so he doesn't go to repeat them anywhere. Now, Alan Chairman, it is highly regrettable that he's chosen this path. I mean, Alan is a stalwart of the NPP. And the reason why it is regrettable is that it is not going to help him. And potentially, it could also hurt his party. So what is the point? I mean, certainly, Alan Chairman by this movement is not going to win the presidential elections. I mean, he's not going to win. What he may do, depending on how the campaign goes, what he may do is that he may affect the chances of the NPP. So then what would he have achieved? He hurt himself and hurt his party. What is the point? That's why I say it is regrettable and that the party needs to engage with him so that he can come back.
You sincerely think there's an opportunity for him to return?
But and you see, something, incidentally, we are talking about the same person. He did the same thing in 2008. The same thing.
He didn't escalate it to this point.
Yes, but he resigned. And then efforts were made to get him back. He rebuffed those efforts. You remember? The Darocha, the first chairman of the... And then later on, when Akufo-Addo himself got involved in all of that, he came back. So it's still possible. And it's still possible with Bawumia.
He says he's the only man of integrity that Ghana needs now. You don't think that would be suicidal on the question of integrity if he changes his mind at this time?
Who doesn't change his mind?
You would have no respect.
Who doesn't change his mind? In any case,
nobody will take him serious.
Sorry?
Again.
Nobody will take him serious.
2008 and 2023, you somersault twice and you say you are rethinking your position. Politically suicidal.
Something, who doesn't change his mind? But what is done to is politically suicidal. What is done is politically suicidal to him. And it could affect his party, you know. And you see, the reason why I believe he should come back is that the basis for his resignation and forming another party, there's no basis. The basis don't hold much water. He says that the process was killed. A process that involves over 900 party stalwarts. You need to show us how it was killed. And the second process is going to involve over 200,000 party people. Leaders of the party from the polling station level right up to the national level. Over 200,000 people. How are you going to skill them How are you going to do that? I remember reading and fortunately I have it here, Mr. Chairman in
statement
2010, when he was campaigning for the flag bearership for the primaries, and he was at Ladade Kotopon on the 30th.
He's gone against something he said.
He told them that this. I'm just retrieving it, but this business of people, because at that time in 2010, there was also rumors that he has no chance because Akufo-Addo was establishment candidate, so he shouldn't. And he told the Ladade Kotopon during the question and answer session, and I'm quoting him. I'm quoting the report. Mr. Chairman said during the question and answer session that the claim that the current national executives of the party favored a particular aspirant was a figment of the imagination of the section of the media. And I quote him, it is the FM stations and some newspapers that have created those things. This is the reason why I do not comment on issues on radio, even when such matters go against me. Then listen to this. He said, there was no way the national executive could influence the over 100,000 polling station executives and other members of the party who will vote to elect a presidential candidate. So if the national executives or whoever cannot influence 100,000 people.
This was when he was thought to be the favored, or as
no,
were...
this was 2010.
2010, okay.
2010.
Okay, right.
And so it was a Ladade, and the question was like, but Akufo-Addo is so strong. And in 2010, Akufo-Addo was very strong, unlike 2008, where Alanto was thought to be strong. And he said, no, don't worry about it. This thing is just a thing. 100,000 people going to vote. No way, there's no way anybody can skew in a... So what has changed? And he didn't give any particulars about how the process had been skewed. Now, you go through a process, take part in it fully. You don't get what you want. Then you come and say that the process is skewed. There's a difficulty there.
Whatever it is, he's gone.
If the process is skewed,
and
you don't take part.
And your desire to have him back is an illusion, isn't it?
Also,
so let's look into what he's able to do or not to do.
Well, what he's able to do, like I said, the history that you put on your screen, the history of people breaking away from their parties. Either to run as independent or to form political parties. The history shows that it doesn't end anywhere. I mean, UGM, which broke away from the NPP, when we were in opposition.
United Ghana Movement, Dr. Rekub in 1996.
He got 0 point something percent. 0 point something percent. The reform, which also broke away from the NDC, citing the same reasons. No democracy, intimidation, all of that. They got 1%. You come from them to Obeda Samuel's party, and there it is on there. The former chairman of the NDC.
The way you like to stress that.
Yes, because he, as chairman, I mean, you don't get bigger. No, you don't get bigger than the chairman of the party. Well, even when he broke away in 2008, he got 0.3. A whole chairman. Obeda Samuel is a colossus when it comes to politics in this country.
But don't forget what they cost to the NDC. Obeda Samuel, Guzitano, don't forget what they cost to the NDC.
When Obeda Samuel broke out in 2008 as the chairman, and NDC still won.
But they caused the NDC trouble.
Yes. But no, not he, Obeda Samuel. But like you're saying, all these parties must be able to garner a certain percentage, not just Obeda Samuel. So in case of Alan, he and the other parties must be able to get like 5% before you can cause any runoff or something. But each of them on their own, and there's UGM 0 point something,
0.3,
1.1. The one you've taken it away. Even Kwesi Ndum as flag bearer of CPP. Then he broke away. What did he get?
He got 1 point.
Yeah.
1.3. Yeah, 1.3. And then when he went solo, with a different party, the PPP, then he made 0.6.
Yeah. So even he as former flag bearer, or in all of, and so none of them is going to be able to get 5%, unless collectively you add. And
people say Alan Tremantin is different.
Yes,
he's different. He's he's bigger than your Guzitano, who made 1.2%.
Well, is Alan Chemati bigger than Nana Kunedu Rawlings in the NDC at that time?
He's not NDC anyway, so look at it within the remit of the NPP.
Can you take it easy and write this thing?
I am writing.
In the NPP, Alan Chemati had contested for the flag bearership and was showing quite well.
Is Alan
until recently?
Is Alan Chemati bigger than Jerry Rawlings in the NDC?
Jerry Rawlings never.
What has happened to Jerry Rawlings?
Because, he and his wife.
Not the wife. Don't
He and his
Jerry
wife.
Rawlings to the wife. You talk about the wife. Rawlings. Leave it there.
Jerry Rawlings is not part of the Democratic Freedom Party.
Absolutely.
He's not part of it.
National Democratic Party.
No.
Yeah.
Now can I speak to Nana Kunedu broke away.
Okay. Is Alan Chemati bigger than Nana Kunedu in the NDC at that time? So this we can just speculate about.
You don't see him that way?
No, I don't. But don't take my word. Let's look at his sway among the grassroots of the party. In 2008, he got a massive 32%, which was massive. What did he get in 2010? It dropped to about 20. What did he get in 2014? In the first round, it dropped to 8. What did he get in the second round? It dropped to 4. What did he get in 2023? So if you're going to...
2023, he got 95%.
No, please, you mean 95 votes.
95 votes.
What percentage was that?
Okay, yeah.
So I'm saying, it is not, if you're going to even look at that way.
As against Baumia, 629.
If you're going to look at it, but for me, I look at it at Alan as a stalwart in the party that many of us look up to him in the party. We admire him. But that is different from his electoral sway among the grassroots of the because for the electoral sway.
So your point is that
my point is that this action that he has taken
is a waste of his time.
It will not. It is not going to be beneficial to him. Number one, and potentially it will not also benefit his party because he cannot win the election, and he has to join all these smaller groups, and if they collectively get about 5%, because there's no way Alan Chematin's party or movement is going to get 5%. No way.
You can
determine
that.
The records.
Let's
the records. How is that? Oh, it's past. But what do you use to judge the future?
No, it's past.
What do you use to judge?
Let's check how.
So I hope that we keep talking to him, point out that this your course of action is not going to benefit you, it's not going to benefit the NPP. We are better off together.
Let's check how his lead strategist thinks about the comments that he said so far from all of you. And it was deliberate to have him hear all of you before he makes his comments. So Alan says that, quote, I believe with unwavering conviction that I'm the only leader who, with unmatched integrity, can guarantee the economic and industrial transformation of Ghana, the restoration of confidence in political leadership, and the unification of an increasingly divided nation. Question, how is he going to do that as an individual, independent candidate when the history is not on his side?
Once again, the mind submissions of my senior brothers on the platform. I could literally preempt exactly what Honorable Haruna Idrisu and Nakomia were going to say before they said it. The reason is because it is in the interest of the political establishment to do all they can to undermine the viability of Alan's independent candidature. And we all know that it's beneficial to the political establishment to continue to perpetuate the duopoly within the system generally. And that is kind of important here to note. Because they know the distinct character and distinct persona of Alan and what he brings on board this political game. And the fact is that anybody who has encountered him knows that he is surely not just taking an action, and he knows exactly what he is doing. But also, let me make a quick comment about what Honorable Haruna says, that Alan has only endorsed change, and that Mahama probably represents that change. I just wanted to say that is it the same Mahama who told the graduates that he is not a magician to be creating jobs for them, as to whether he's the same Mahama who represents that level of change for young people in this country. And that is a conversation we would have to have. But most importantly, why does this work? Why does Alan's independent candidature work? What I think the panelists and people are ignoring is that quite distinct from Alan's strategy is that he says that I'm running as an independent candidate, but he models his campaign after a similar situation that happened in Kenya in 2013, the Jubilee Alliance in 2013, where Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto formed what they call the Jubilee Alliance. Quite fundamental in that alliance is that it pitched the candidates far beyond their individual persons. So that when you are buying into Alan's ideas, there is a buying of an association far greater than the individual himself. So you are buying into a movement for change that is distinct from whatever independent candidature you have seen before.
A movement of how many members?
Exactly, and that is exactly what we should be asking.
You are actually about to start the movement, so we don't even have numbers to deal with, right? The NDC NPP can guarantee that some 6 million votes are secured for them ahead of the elections.
Two things. Firstly, their conviction that no matter how abysmal a party's performance in government, vis-a-vis the NDC and the Mahama for 4 years or 6 years, also and probably the current perception of the governance and the NPP, they will still have people who will still vote for them in that regard, is really a problem. One, you cannot assume in that regard, essentially because the political climate is one that is calling for change. Patrice Talon in Benin faced the same challenges where people felt that it was impossible. But political climate showed that people, no matter how they had been attached historically to political parties, were willing to change. But most importantly, let me just pass this comment that possibly if Kwame Nkrumah had not left the UGCC as a party, Ghana wouldn't have gained our independence as then. It took him exiting the party in principle for us to gain our independence. The people in the Pentecost Church, led by Jesus Mama Akion, have showed us that it takes a bold decision to lead a system to pursue your own agenda to become the Pentecost Church far greater than what the Apostolic Church represented in that regard. But also, the duopoly of the NDC and the NPP is in their current forms are structurally not representative of the ideals that promote the national discourse or interest at large. So, for example, there is a multifaceted opposition to whatever any party brings. So what you have is that everything about the free senior high school, no matter how brilliant it is, you have people in the NDC opposing it, same as the MPP opposing the community-based senior high schools, even though they become campus sort of the bedrocks of the survival of the free senior high school now. So there is a need for a multi-day discourse, and the objective populace of this country who understands this will be willing to make a determination come December 7th. But also, we need to assess why the movement for change is important. One, the need to put our best foot forward. Quite fundamentally, what Alan says is that we are at a point in our nation's history how the only way we can advance as a nation is where all human resources are on the table, not because of our political colors, not because of our cultural backgrounds, not because of our religious or relationships, but primarily because of our competence. And that him as an independent president is one who will be allowed to tap into all political climates in general. So it means that whether you are NPP or NDC, he will surely satisfy the provisions of Article 78 of the Constitution that mandates him to appoint a majority of his ministers from Parliament. However, in that consideration,
you make a fair analysis or choice from both parties based on your competence, not just merely because you're a member of the
He must first demonstrate that he's credible and to get close to winning elections. Old wine in new wine skin. Is that the case?
Is there any doubt as to the credibility of Alan? Is there any doubt as to his competence?
How does he answer to the question that he spent over a decade in government? So what's new?
I think you respectfully answered the question in your submission early on as to the nature of executive presidency within the limits of our constitution. It is important to note that within a government structure, executive power resides with the president. It is the agenda of the president that thrives. What it means is that as a minister of state, all you can do is within the limits of your ministry. And even to that effect, that is subject to the approval of the president. What Alan says is that give me the mandate to wield executive power and let me put forward an agenda called the Great Transformational Plan that is supposed to be a 5-year plan that transforms this nation. It is a conversation that is quite important, where he says that at the core of governance is the ability of the president to control the narrative and set the agenda as to how he thinks the nation should be run. That is a power that cannot be wielded by Minister of State within the limits of the Constitution.
He joined Nana Akufo-Addo and told us these same stories, projected him as the very best that this country will ever experience in its history. What's the story today that he's criticizing? He says that he would have done things differently if he were president. Did you hear him?
Respectfully, I think on my own platform at Joy, in the last interview about a few days ago, he mentioned and acknowledged the fact that, listen, Nanado, for example, is one who believes in industrialization. But he framed up why he is for industrial transformation. He created a distinction of a prioritization of an agenda within the purview of the candidates. And a comparative analysis is, for example, if you look at NACPO, for example, which is supposed to be a temporary employment factor for the government, NACPO's budget allocation was about 3-4 times much more than what was allocated for the 1D1F. So in as much as the president will ordinarily advance his objectives, you do realize that the priority is with regards to the president. But
you think about it again, that seriously you need a parliament to give you all this spending. And if you are going to win election without MPs, and you're going to tap into as it were, the NDC, the NPP, and you cannot guarantee their loyalty, especially from the NPP that you have hurt them. And then the NDC too, you would have hurt their chances of winning elections. You think it's going to be that, easy to run a government? Did I lose Duke? Okay, so I'll just share a couple of messages, and Dr. John Osai Kwapon of the CDD says that here are his sentiments. He says, when you hear the people say, we are tired of the NDC MPP duopoly, quote unquote, this regularly comes up. Ghanaians have regularly said more parties are needed according to Afrobarometer. But when asked about voting intentions in Afrobarometer, no more than 5% have ever said they intend to vote outside the NDC MPP duopoly. Dr. Tue Champong had mentioned this. And our election results also show we never vote outside of the duopoly in huge numbers. Will 2024 be different? I have my doubts. I have my doubts because I don't think an independent candidate emerging from the deep bowels of duopoly politics is the type of independence the people are thirsty for. What do you say about that? Because that is critical, that Alan is coming from the MPP, from a party. What the people are thirsty for is not that kind. They are thirsty for someone, who comes from a new thinking, not from having been disappointed in a political party. Yes, Duke.
This question is a consideration of three very factors. Number one, or even before the factors, is that we need to understand that whatever analysis that has been put across are one that probably were made prior to Honorable Lanchamante's announcement. That is one. So that we need to consider the new narrative that will have existed far after his announcement. But also, at the core of change within the political system is one, the existing political climate, two, the candidate's personality, and three, the message of the candidate. Let me first hit on political climate. The country now is one where there is great apathy from conversations, mainly because people are largely disappointed with the current structural elements within the MP and the NDC. And there is a call for a third force. As to the nature of the third force is what my subsequent submissions will come across. Now, the candidate's personality. Alan Chimantin has a track record of representing the ideals of young people. And he says that representation of a people is not just about age. It's about whether your ideals are ones that are reflective of the very demography that you want to represent. So that for well over 30 years, through the UNDP and as Minister of State and in his works in trade across Africa, has he been representative of job creation and the creation of opportunities for young people across this country and across Africa? The answer is an emphatic yes. A track record far more greater than any independent candidate aspirant in the history of this country. A track record.
Why does this belief of his not manifested in the NPP in the first place? Because if the youth are for him, the youth is in the NPP as well.
So that's a legit question. My response is simple. Now, we need to analyze statistically the percentage of people who vote within the MPP as against the people who vote within an electoral cycle for the MPP in a national election. Does that percentage amount to a convincing understanding that that percentage will surely reflect the national agenda in general and the nation as a whole? How many people, you are taking the 200,000 people who will vote in the delegate election in November, that is equal to 2.9% of the 7 million votes that the MPP needs to win an election. Match that against the over 17 million people or 19 million people who potentially could vote in December. That is a figure that is probably that's not even significant in general.
Okay.
So that percentage cannot be a basis of assessing the popularity of Alan within the general election.
Okay. Duke, I'm sorry, but we have to end it here. Thank you very much for joining us with your views. PK in Elembele says, Alan Chimantin's resignation, it is a fact and clear on the ground that MPP is bound to face the consequences in 2024. Alan Chimantin hails from MPP stronghold, and therefore his impact in Ashanti region will be felt in Ashanti region. As a former trade minister, Alan's impact in other regions where his footprint is being felt will be a big blow. To call a spade, Alan's betrayal by the NPP was simply to avoid NPP being tagged as an Akan party or to avoid NDC pointing fingers at MPP to also elect a flag bearer from the north. That will affect votes to the north. I'll urge that when you type, read over before you send. Musa Abattoir in Kumasi, Asawasi, he says that I'm happy a leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, has stated categorically that EC has not come with the budget of which Parliament rejected, so the decision to carry out the registration exercise at only EC offices was an afterthought. We are told they were exceeding their target of 700,000. What it means is that if they decentralized, they could have captured considerably more voters. Then you say that, is there a leader in the NPP to call those who are attacking the integrity of Alan Kyerematen to order? Is the same person they presented to us as a very credible person and led some of their campaigns, particularly for industrialization. They should stop damaging him. Why do you spend a whole time discussing Alan Kyerematen's exit when we can discuss a lot to kick the NDC and NPP out? Both have caused the mess we need to save Ghana from. Then Don Pino from Malam, he says, Nana Kumia is so right. The NDC has suffered the worst of breakaways in the past, and the party never collapsed. No single individual is bigger than any political party in this world, and Alan Kyerematen's breakaway will not have any significant adverse effects on the gains of the NPP. Alan is one of the most favored politicians in the NPP, and I find his resignation regrettable and not smart a move. Hassan Ayarga says that why are we giving Alan? He says we're giving Alan too much, time and attention. Alan's excuses of being treated unfairly, for me, is no excuse, because he is going to be same at the national elections with other political parties. It's not every time that the majority decision is right. I think he should have stayed. 100,000 delegates against 206,000. The dynamics can change. It wasn't an excellent idea to use to step down. Okay, thank you for your message. Then this one is from Kweku, is from Poku. He says that Gideon Buako had asked Alan to form his party if he feels popular. What's their beef? He's gone. So you ask him to go, he's gone. What's your beef? Kweku Enchiboesiako says that the right to register under Articles 42 doesn't provide for how and when registration to vote must happen. There's no legal obligation for yearly registration exercise. So if the EC decided to conduct one general registration in 2024, would we be having this conversation? Then he says, for any independent candidate to win a presidential election in 2024, two conditions must be fulfilled. The candidate must have no verifiable previous association with any of the two dominant parties. Oh, so Alan is disqualified. The candidate must present a compelling, convincing program to radically change Ghana that most Ghanaians, especially the youth, can buy into. Alan doesn't tick any of these two boxes. I would be surprised if he gets more than 1% of the votes in 2024. Those were some of your messages. We need to take a break and then return to look at the economy. How is the IMF bailout helping to recover so far? You wanted to make, so I can give you some 1 minute. 1 minute.
We have to stop trying to drag Jerry John Rawlings of blessed memory, who is saving his grave from the politics of exits and departures and breakaway. President Rawlings never ever did that. And then to let him also appreciate that I agree with him on one breath that internal wranglings and internal disagreements and accusations of counter-accusations of intimidation and other unacceptable and unethical practices within the political parties is right on the point. But within the New Patriotic Party, we've had concerns that some flag bearers could not even have access to those delegates in your just ended...
Which ones?
where you, in northern region, I know 2 or 3 flag bearers. I've listened to Kennedy Ohina Ajekum, I've listened to Kennedy Ajepo and others who simply didn't have access to those who were to exercise the vote. That cannot be acceptable.
How is that possible?
The delegates
would meet them?
In fact, the delegates were locked up. You should be aware, their phones even seized from them. In some instances, even if you call a delegate, you were told that they'll put it on a voice call before they identify who spoke to him. We know what happened. So we are saying that those practices cannot be acceptable. In the northern region, this happened. In the northeast region, this happened. And in Ashanti region, this happened. Apart from the quantum of money, if you want, I'll share with you how much money you shared undertaking this
share with us.
No, I gave him just a minute. He's done.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
You've made a promise.
Yeah,
lots of money.
Look, Samson, Haruna Shubi, you sit up. This Jerry Rawlings matter. You say Jerry Rawlings is not on the books at the Electoral Commission. That's what you are saying.
For the National Democratic Party.
Never broke away from the National Democratic
Is Jerry Rawlings' name on the books at the Electoral Commission as the founder of the NDC?
The NDC's constitution has him.
That's what I'm saying. But when you're talking of books at the Electoral Commission, you're not finding his name.
Okay.
Now the second point, quickly. Chief.
But in our constitution,
Chief.
His vision,
this business
informed the formation of the NDC as his founder.
I didn't want to even go to Dufour, because you said there was no time. There was a time somebody picked the form at the NDC head office. The person who gave the form to that person to try and fill forms to contest was sacked. So let's not go there. It's a difficulty all of us face. Don't come here and sit on a horse.
In fact, if you want to be
fall down.
In fact, if you want to be totally blunt about it, in a manner that Haruna may not be comfortable with me right now, is that we know that he became a victim
himself
of that kind of thing, where some falsehoods were peddled against him.
You deny it.
Right.
We're not discussing that.
Okay, so
let's discuss it.
And we know that some of these things are what led to the coup that happened, which I know the party has regretted, because you can have a better leadership in Parliament than you have now. We will take a break here. Dr. Thea Champon, it's only fair to give you also a minute before we take the break. As for that, I am very certain about that. The party has regretted it deeply, the kind of leadership they have in Parliament now. Yes, Dr. Thea Champon, just a minute.
Just a minute. I'm enjoying the conversation. I mean, a few quick points. Honorable Akomia talks about trying to reach out to Alan and bring him back. I think the horse has bolted from the stables. It's not going to happen, and would even have a much bigger dent on his own credibility going forward. Also, it's not as though Alan does not have trust or credibility issues, right, amongst potential would-be voters. Because the question a lot of people have enumerated and said is, if the economy was underperforming and there's been all these issues, why stay for 7 years and then decide at the very last minute to break away and form a new party? In other words, if he had still won the nomination to lead the MPP, would he have broken away to form a new party at all? So there are question marks around, the timing, and also around whether or not he's actually doing this with a genuine intent to try and change the fortunes of the country around.
All right.
The messaging is not the issue. What he wants to do, economy, structural transformation, at least every one of the parties in Ghana has spoken about similar things in the past. So then it comes down fundamentally to the vehicle and whether or not he in and of himself would be able to win the election. And at the moment, if you look at the history, if you look at the trends, and even the people he's trying to target, the youth and the middle class vote, I doubt that he would be able to, push to actually win the election, unless, of course, like I said earlier, the intent is to force the election into a second round, then he has some chance to tap into the middle 10% of the population that, for one reason or other, due to apathy, due to the economic issues, all of those things may possibly.
Well, the party is obviously very scared. They are removing his posters from their party offices around the country. It started with the Ashanti region, right?
That's not because
you're scared. You don't want to have him around.
No, we won't have NDC posters in our party.
Okay.
So why would we have a lunch?
All right. Thank you. A news file is brought to you by the candidate sponsorship of Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, and close as a partner. MTN, everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 31 solid years. Duroplus, they produce your quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duroplus goes, water certainly flows. DBS Industries, roofing, Papa Fie. My Way, dial star 165 hash on MTN to join My Way today. Syntex tanks, it's strong, it's tough. Flamingo paints, simply superior. And Snit Seed, that's your self-employed enrollment drive. It's your future, so own it. Best Brain Publication, Tomorrow Education Today. And Haptel, everything you. We'll be right back.
Unfortunately, the party has become some sort of I don't know if I will use the word society or a club for a few people within the party, where decisions are taken by them, and I don't know if force is the right word to use, and then all members are supposed to comply with those decisions. People are not able to come out openly to protest, but those of us sitting back, we hear a lot of complaints from members of the party.
I am a loyal patriot, and I'm in the party.
I won't tell you about this decision. And
no, I don't think we're here for that. I'm here to support the party, and I want to reiterate that again. The party is supreme. So let's send that message out there that we are the new patriotic party.
Pascal's showing his boss the efficient new technology they've installed. She is pleased, but now she's asking, why is that still there? Pascal explains that the wells can store many, many messages. The boss is not so pleased anymore. If you haven't upgraded your contact center yet, it's time to get business done better with MTN Business.
This tank is big.
Yes, that's true.
It can store a lot of water.
That's so true.
Wow. It has a working tortoise on it.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
I can see S-I-N-T-E-X. Syntax.
That is so true, my daughter.
When it falls down, it will spoil.
That's not true.
But why?
Hey! Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. Syntex again was the first to introduce white inner layers in Ghana. Syntex gives you the biggest warranty, 7 years. No matter your water needs, Syntex is the answer. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint. As compared to other paint brands on the market, we take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo Superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
About 1/3 of a million people live with HIV in Ghana. Close to 10,000 of them die each year, mostly as a result of a lack of antiretroviral drugs and adherence. In fact, close to 57% of children under 14 years living with HIV do not receive antiretroviral drugs, again as a result of inadequate funds to provide them with medication.
Life expectancy for these children is grim. The big worry, close to 16,300 people are newly infected with HIV each year. With this alarming rate of HIV infections, all of us are in danger, and Ghana is headed for an epidemic explosion if nothing is done now to avert it. While the Ghana AIDS Commission is working hard to overturn the situation, the Commission urgently needs funding support from corporate Ghana and individuals to save lives. We're therefore appealing to you, corporate entities and individuals, to support the National HIV and AIDS Fund by dialing *9898# on MTN and Vodafone and follow the prompts, or pay into the National HIV and AIDS Fund account number 101-863-161-3233, Bank of Ghana. Your donation will be used to prevent new infections and provide care for people living with HIV, including children affected by AIDS. For further information, please call Ghana AIDS Commission on 0302 919260 or email info@ghanaids.gov.gh. Give to save a life today. Ghana AIDS Commission, partnering to eliminate HIV and AIDS.
Emirates Premium Economy. One day, all airlines will have seats like this. Fly Emirates, fly better.
Ekaprenu eya enunti na metufu se abibere opade a unsa nkoto no emprelu na mekanfo SCP ama SCP ewo tema shahel ehwo na factory kese no esi eye na apɛ pavement blocks ankasa na die edisi dem biara no okɔ shahel SCP ebema obi se upese usiu dan na pete ogu concrete enya fina akoto cement akɔpabo akɔpa nwia ofre SCP a the concrete is missing the with quality. Cement warm on the good camera amount. So whatever a fienya, dodowa, a flower, bong, and in Patamu Nara. Your office. I was Printers Road, Yanni Papaya restaurant in the division.
For SCP was 0501 672 608. And toll free number 0800 626 26.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. And there are some developments that need assessing about our economy. After the DDEP and having received the 600 million. We are supposed to receive another tranche sometime in November. And so the IMF team have been working on us. How are things going? It does appear that we are yet to actually experience the effects of this broke economy. Professor Godfrey Bokwing joins the panelists this morning. Prof, good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, good morning, Samson, and good morning to other co-panelists and listeners.
Great. As we know now, we are doing everything we can to also give some haircut to our investors. How easy is that? And is that sort of a condition before we can get the 600 next tranche?
Thank you very much, Samson. We know that from the very onset, when the IMF determined that Ghana's debt was unsustainable, and that meant that they were not going to lend to the country once your debt is unsustainable, it became necessary to restructure our debt. Both the domestic debt and then the external debt. We couldn't ignore the domestic debt because of the proportion of the interest cost that the domestic debt was absorbing. Therefore, that was the first step. So what we had to do, out of the total domestic debt of 259 billion cedis end of December 2022, we excluded the treasury bill and then another component of about 4.7 billion. That meant that we had in excess of 200 billion cedis as universe of eligible bonds to be restructured. We did a first round where we restructured 85% of 98 billion cedis. Now you will see, and then we said that that wasn't enough. So, but for now, government largely had been successful with restructuring the other categories of the domestic debt, pensions, cocoa bill, the US dollar denominated, and then Bank of Ghana's indebtedness, government indebted to Bank of Ghana. Overall, we are looking at participation rates a little above 90%. Again, we've seen that the yield, the interest costs on the average had been reduced from about 19.1% or so to about 9.1%. The maturity has also been extended. Maybe on a different day, we'll look at whether the reprofiling we have done guarantees debt sustainability for the foreseeable future. We can leave that to another day. Now, given the way the IMF judged the whole arrangement, that where our debt situation was, fiscal adjustments alone will not be sufficient to restore debt sustainability. That meant that in addition to fiscal adjustment as contained in the IMF-supported program, debt restructuring with some level of haircut is unavoidable. So we've practically done with the domestic debt. But something, the interesting thing is that if you look at the IMF program financing arrangement, especially in balance of payment terms, the external debt restructuring is fundamental to translating the IMF program objectives into actual. And from the external debt perspective alone, we are looking at, in the next 3 years, every year, a debt relief of about $3.5 billion from our external debt restructuring, both external bilateral and then external commercial. External bilateral, we are looking at something around $5.4 billion as at the end of 2022. Then external commercial, essentially Eurobonds, we are looking at $14.6 billion. Now, then let's juxtapose that within the limited recovery we are seeing now. Now, what you see here, both in terms of the stability in the exchange rate and then the pickup in GDP growth, is a reflection of the sacrifice Ghanaians have had to make in order for this country to have a breathing space. Remember that creditors had to sacrifice, pensioners, investors had to sacrifice. This is not really an issue of leadership showing up here. It's a reflection of the sweat and toil of people who have had to sacrifice their savings and investment in order for Ghana to have this kind of pathway, limited as we can see it. Now, if you look at the overall, we can't also say that we are seeing broad-based recovery. No, we are not there yet. We are not there yet. If you look at Bank of Ghana's high-frequency data on real economic sector of the economy, the composite index of economic activity is still contracting, except that it's contracting at a slower pace now compared to before. Then again, if you look at the exchange rate, the foreign exchange market, you will see the stability there, also a reflection of the fact that the country took advantage of the debt service suspension under the G20 common framework. So far, we have saved close to $2 billion. Now, assuming the country had to make this payment, if you take that out of our external balance, that tells you the country is hugely exposed. Now, you also see that because of the restructuring that is ongoing and all of that, there's actually a slowdown in general economic activity also. You can see that in terms of slowdown at the port and the rest of them. That also tells you that the economy is really not at its full level, so as to see how if you unleash you release the restrictions to see how the economy overall will perform. But at the end of the day, we can say that yes, we've made some progress, we've seen some recovery, we need to build on that. But what is also important at the end of the day is that we are doing all of these things just to have something, macroeconomic stability. But macroeconomic stability is an end in itself. It's a means to an end. Okay, so what that we are doing is not actually an end game. It's actually a means to an end. And the question is, how do we sustain this even beyond the IMF-supported program? So by and large, if you look at what the way the IMF program review is structured, they are in town now. They are looking at June end targets, benchmarks. Of course, given that it's a 3-year program, they are going to adopt a two-pronged approach. They're going to look at the historical up to the end of June. Then they're also going to adopt a forward-looking approach to see how broadly whether the program is in line, what adjustments and that needs to be made. But my consideration is that
the fact that of the 52.3 billion debts owed, they are owed to more than half of that is owed to external creditors, the Eurobond holders, and then banks expected to take some significant haircut.
Yeah, that is what is in the program as well.
Right. How is it easy to get this? That's actually my question. How is it easy to get this? And because the expectation is that by end November, is it, that the second tranche should come in?
Yes. It is not the case that the second tranche is actually predicated on we completing the restructuring of our external debt.
Okay.
No, so we are hopeful that the country will be able to make progress with the second tranche. The real risk is actually 2024. And the reason I'm saying the real risk is 2024 is that if you look at the program financing arrangement, it's a little bit front-loaded. So this year, out of the IMF $3 billion, we are expected to get $1.2 billion this year. Then next year, in terms of program disbursement, in all, we are looking at around $700 million. So $350 million in the first 6 months, and then the other $350 million the last 6 months. Now, there's a possibility that government will probably keep to the tenants of the IMF supported program way up to the second half of next year. If you check this country, in all our competitive elections, the last 4 months of the election year, really everything is about vote, and it's not about economic fundamentals. We saw that also in 2016. because in the 2016 election, we were still under an IMF-supported program that kicked in from April 3rd, 2015 to April 2019. It was a 3-year program, but because of the way the fiscal slippages with the 2016 elections, when we were done with the election, the program was completely off. In order to bring the program back, we needed to also extend it by 1 year. So that 16th IMF-supported program had to be extended from April 2018 to April 2019. Now, that's what I'm saying, that the risk is actually the second half of 2024. The incentive for government to work and meet the program conditionalities in June 2023 is very high, because if government fails to make much progress, that may also affect other discussions ongoing, especially with our external debt restructuring. Okay. Remember that under the G20 common framework, the whole debt restructuring is coming under the framework of the IMF supported program, because it is through the debt sustainability analysis that the IMF and the World Bank jointly conducted that estimate the level of relief that the country would need in order to restore debt sustainability, for which reason creditors, bilateral, external, commercial, and all of that are using as a basis of their discussion going forward. And therefore, making progress with external debt restructuring is fundamental to translating the IMF program objectives into actual.
Right. So before I go to my guests in the studio and also to Dr. Theo Champong, the Haruna Iddrisu here has said that the external debt restructuring is likely to stall project financing. We'd like to seek to know what the implications of that will be. But on the general economy, will you say that the three-pronged purpose of our program is being achieved, as in on the micro level? We are looking to restoring macroeconomic stability, ensuring debt sustainability, and laying the foundation for higher and more inclusive growth. Yes, Doc. Prof. Please unmute.
Something.
Yes.
The question was to me, right?
Yes, please.
Yes. So we said that from the foreign exchange perspective, IMF programs are generally FX positive in terms of the stability it brings with the currency, right? And then also in terms of restoring macroeconomic stability, yes. But the real thing we need to be concerned about is, because what we do is actually sacrificing medium to long-term sustainable development potential for short-term macro stability. So, and therefore, when we exit an IMF-supported program, then you see that the effect of the sacrifice and the quotes of begin to have a toll on the economy. So, the important thing we need to ask ourselves whether this is the kind of recovery that will be sufficient and will benefit every Ghanaian. Something, the answer is no. And I'll give you a couple of examples.
Quickly.
The 16th IMF supported program, one of the program objectives was to return the country to job-rich growth and employment generation. That didn't happen. So we achieved macroeconomic stability, but at a greater cost. What is the cost? The cost is inclusive growth in the short term. And now, and we are unable to build on the limited macroeconomic stability to ensure greater economic transformation. And therefore, the cycle tends to repeat itself as we go along. Okay. So, it's a bit too early now to begin to say whether the program objectives broadly are on course. We've seen some signs, limited as they are, because inflation is still very high.
Okay.
We've seen that inflation dipped to 40.1%, but 40.1% compared to the world average is so high.
Right.
Interest rate is still very high.
Right.
Bank of Ghana's meeting recently, they did not reduce the policy rate because their own assessment is that it's too early to begin to take off their legs off the accelerator.
Instead of Haruna, let me go to Dr. Theo Champong and briefly on this. The former minority leader is talking about the country having to depend on loans to finance projects. And he's talking about what he says government will not be able to complete. Because of that, we are in a situation where there is a risk in stalling project financing because of the DDEP. What's the implication of that when there's a stall in project financing?
Already there's actually a stall. It's not like it's going to happen. It's in the process. So when you look at the number of the road projects, for example, the Teshi road that goes all the way through to Nungwa and Sakumono, that project has stalled because there's no money, and the government itself has had to place a moratorium on servicing. It's dead. The other point is that the people you go to borrow from to service these loans and these facilities have already told you that we're not going to give you any more money. And the government is trying to now sit down with them and restructure the debt. So as for loans, especially on the external front, we should forget about that for a while. In my view, probably even the next 2 years. And that, of course, puts a lot of pressure on the domestic market, with government having to borrow from treasury bills and then from other instruments. And if you even look at the domestic debt exchange that was just concluded, the government listed these new bonds at around 9% or so rate as was trading on the secondary market. If you look at the current rates, and this is data from the Bank of Ghana, the interest on these new bonds already we're talking 19 or so percent. So it does show you that people are still jittery and people are still demanding more premium from the government to be able to loan monies back to them. So yes, you've done some sorts of restructuring, but the purpose of doing the restructuring already is not being fully felt, right? In terms of even bringing your some of your yield indicators down. And the fundamental point, I think also is that there are two things. In the short term, so between now and November, the IMF guys are in town. I think
they are supposed to end their assessment by September, correct?
Yes. So based on which we'll get the second tranche. I am very confident and hopeful that we'll get the second tranche because the conditions to satisfy to get that second tranche was all laid out in what we call the structural benchmarks. So for example, things like publishing an updated energy sector recovery plan, what you're going to do to streamline the statutory funds, District Assembly Common Fund, and the likes, a revenue strategy, and a few other things with tax administration. I know for a fact that some of these things have been done. So if you look at the indicators on the quantitative structural side, we would probably meet most of them, which then will qualify us to get the second round of the release early November, at least 2 weeks before the budget is going to be ready.
In a minute, explain to the ordinary Ghanaian what sort of relief is this to us?
I mean, the immediate impact, like Prof was saying, is just boosting your liquidity and the reserves, right? So you have a couple more dollars in the system, fine. But beyond that, becomes a bigger issue of what you use those monies for, and then whether or not it's even big enough to fill the gap or the hole that you have. So you have a hole of about 2.5 billion every year that you need to close, dollars. And of this 2-point-something billion, most of it you have to get it from the external debt restructuring. Hence why that is absolutely fundamental going forward, that we're able to conclude that the external debt restructuring possibly towards the end of the year or the first quarter of next year, because that is the only way that we'll be able to actually get some major relief and pass that relief down to Ghanaians. Other than that, these pressures will still persist.
Thank you very much. And Haruna, you raised that point where you said that the huge haircuts and deferred interest payment until the end of the IMF program means projects that are being financed with loans will come to a standstill, if not completely terminated, and this will be an extra cost to the country.
Samson, thank you very much. I think that Nana Adudanko Akufo-Addo and Dr. Baume and the MPP must accept responsibility for the doom and gloom of the Ghanaian economy. The Ghanaian economy is no longer the poster boy and the rising star for Africa in terms of its management and mismanagement. And you caught it right. Just in terms of project loan, when you look at the external debt and you get Minister Ken Ofori-Atta saying that I've turned a corner, you cannot turn a corner when you are not conclusive on your external debt component, which is about $29 billion US, for which you've applied for the common framework. So if you take a project like Kumasi Airport, it's come to a standstill. Takoradi Exchange has come to a standstill. Even La Hospital, we are now being told is under Agenda 111 and not the loan that Parliament approved for it. The railway lines, which was being done by Amandi, has also come to a standstill. So it means all these companies are laying off workers. That is cost. If the project was at 80% complete, it's likely to suffer deterioration. Now, we have borrowed so recklessly, and to quote Nana Adudanko, 2017, he said 120 billion was colossal. So what is 575 billion within a space of 5 years? When he said 120 billion was an economic sin. Now, who wants to see God with a sin at 575 billion? That's how much is borrowed. Now, you would also see that in terms of commercial creditors, we owe about 20 billion, 5.6 billion to multilateral and others, about 1.9 billion to China. Not until you conclude this, you don't say that you are on course in terms of your recovery and others. Investor confidence in our economy is all-time low. Cost of living is all-time high. Inflation is all-time high, the longest at 40%. And not even the printing of money or quantitative easing from Bank of Ghana helped save the situation for them. I mean, you have 60 billion. That's about 6 billion. And you are holding a calabash looking for $600 million or 1.2 billion. Samson, what that also means is that Ghana cannot access the credit market. And that's very worrying until probably 2027. My other worry is that even if President...
We're shut out of the credit market even before we went to that.
Yes, but so, even if John Mahama should emerge winner of the election in January 2025, he should be prepared for another debt exchange around 2027. And I think that they need to come clear in a more transparent manner. Now, the cutoff date, as I read it, is that they are telling external creditors that March 2020 is the cutoff date. Since then, you've been borrowing treasury bills, short-term, expensive, costly to the state.
March 2020
is when they said will be the cutoff date for the moratorium, when they said they are suspending servicing of debt. So the monies you have borrowed from 2020 to yesterday, who will pay for it and when? That is likely to down on you.
That's an interesting perspective. He's looking into 2024 and the possibility that they will form a government and they will not have, anything to do, some of the things that they are likely to promise.
Something. I mean, you see, I don't have a problem if anybody says that there has been commissions or omissions in the management of the domestic Ghanaian economy. But you see, when you also do not recognize the external factor, then you are not being truthful to the facts. There's no problem if you say that things could have been handled better domestically, no problem. But you should also recognize the external factor. When these people go abroad, they talk where that one you can't go and do propaganda. They talk about the external factor. When they come into this country, they say, oh, there's no external factor. It's all the fault of the government. You cannot be having a discussion when you have this line that you are taking.
Personally, do you feel any improvement since we entered into this pact with the IMF?
Now, in the NDC's time, President Mahama, right from 2012 to 2016, he always blamed the economic troubles we had on the external factor.
And you rejected it?
He blamed, because there was no external factor. Was there COVID?
There was.
Was there COVID?
Prices of your major exports, gold and cocoa.
Prices of our major export go up and down every year.
But you rejected.
There was no external factor. Mahama said that there was slowdown in China. And that was the main basis for him why the Ghanaian economy was bad. Right from 2012 to 2016, all the State of the Nation addresses. And then today you say, oh, I mean, you can blame government for something. I don't have a problem there because there's even external factors depend on internal factors for their aid. Be objective. That's all that I'm saying to you. Now you say if there's any improvement. Samson, there has been some slight improvement. Look at the indicators. Our growth rate, the GDP growth rate for this half year has been 3.5. It's an improvement on the growth rate for 2022. If you look at the macro situation, inflation, we know, went up in the 50s, came down to 43, 42. Today it is 40.1 as of August. You look at the city, look at what happened to the city last year. But this year, it's been relatively stable.
Not what happened in 2016 again, only last year.
Why is it disrupting it? When you look at, if you take out January this year, because January, because of the uncertainties with the debt exchange and all those things, the city's fall was quite high in January. But if you take out January, from February to now, the city is depreciated 2.5%. And we all see it. So there are still problems. The deficit is still big, has to be. But interest rates are falling. 91-day treasury bill used to be 35.5 in 2020.
There's an aspect of this development I'll be interested in exploring with the politicians as to what they will be promising during the electioneering campaign.
Now the big thing is that
our time is up.
How you not to go all the time?
I'm sorry, our time is up.
Propaganda.
Thank you also very much. My guests have been Dr. Theo Champong, economist and political risk analyst. Haruna Idrisu is MP, Tamale South and former minority leader. Nana Komia, member, MPP Communications. Duke Aaron Sasu, lead strategist, Movement for Change. And we also spoke to Professor Godfred Bokwing, Professor of Finance and Economist at the University of Ghana, Legon. Join me, as always, tomorrow, 2 p.m. God willing, for another installment of my legal clinics, the law. I'm sure you enjoyed last week's. The lawyers were clear about what you could get into contempt for about injunctions. We'll continue tomorrow. I'm Samson Ladia Yenini.